Ladies and gentlemen,
it's time to embrace a youthful mindset and envision your future. Take the lead is in your walls.
Take the lead is in your walls.
This platform serves as a space for engagement designed to equip young people to become effective leaders. They are actively contributing, creatively engaged, and determined in various fields. And now, this is Take the Lead.
Hello, West Africa, Africa and the world at large. Welcome to your program, Take the Lead on West Africa, Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and online at WADR.org. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at WADR English Service. My name is Augustine Bilkali, and today we are discussing a topic that directly impacts our future: youth and green initiatives in the face of climate challenges. Around the world, and particularly in Africa, the effects of climate change are being felt more and more. Intense heat, floods, soil degradation, and pollution. Faced with these challenges, young people are not just standing idly by. They are engaging in youth-led initiatives to address challenges in their communities and regions. Today, we begin a series of productions on youth engagement in the face of climate change, a program produced in partnership with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. And our guests today are inspiring individuals. Now, we have Lydia Biendi, and Lydia is a Youth for Climate analyst and focal person for Africa, UNDP Rome Center. For Lydia, the focus will be on presenting the Youth for Climate Change project initiated by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. How are you doing, Lydia? And welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Augustine, and West Africa Democratic Radio. Very happy to be here.
Great. It's good to also hear from you on the show. We are privileged to have you with us. We also have Jeremiah Toronka. Jeremiah is the founder of the Ecopreneur Student-Led Recycling Initiative in Sierra Leone. He will be telling us more about its climate change initiative. Welcome, Jeremiah. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Great. How is the initiative going with you?
It's going well. It's a normal thing now. We've been doing this for about 3 years, so we are into it. So
great.
Yeah, so far, so good.
Welcome. As well as Fatia Selassie Chawe Glover. Fatia is a project coordinator for Zero Waste Cities at Grain Africa Youth Organization in Ghana. How are you doing, Fatia? Welcome.
Thank you very much, and hello to all your listeners. I am doing very well and very happy to be here today.
Indeed, I can see the smile on your face, and we really appreciate your presence on the show today. And you, our amazing listeners and viewers, join us and let's discuss this wonderful topic together. Now, we should all remember that climate change is a challenge for everyone, for every community, for every country. That means all hands should be on deck. We begin with asking Leah, because she's from the angle of its sponsorship. The Youth for Climate Change initiative by UNDP is very crucial at a time when the global world is faced with climate challenges. Please tell us about this Youth for Climate Change project. What is the objective and what is the scope?
Thank you so much, Augustine. I'm also very much honored that we had this opportunity to discuss this in a series of talk show, because it's very urgent and it's a very timely topic. So just to give you a bit of a background about the Youth for Climate initiative, Youth for Climate is a global initiative that is co-led by government of Italy and the United Nations Development Program. Just to tell your audience what UNDP is. UNDP, or it's in short, it's the leading UN agency that leads on the international development. And one of its core objectives of UNDP is ensuring a healthy planet. So UNDP has multiple initiatives, and Youth for Climate is one of them. We also support countries in developing climate ambitious policies and also governance. And we have multiple offices, for example, in countries and in the regional regional offices as well, that support this policy side. So the second one is the implementation side, which I will come to, which is Youth for Climate. So on the policy side, for example, I thought this could be a very important thing to know for your audience as well. So country offices in West Africa and also the rest of Africa have been supporting their government in revising their national determination contributions. So this, we call it in short NDC. So this NDC is part of the Paris Agreement, which was a global agreement amongst countries to limit the global warming or the greenhouse gas emission from reaching the 1.5 or 2%, 2 degrees Celsius by 2030. So when countries develop this NDC, we support them to make sure that they are use responsive and use inclusive. So young people should not be just listeners or beneficiaries or participants in this kind of conversations, policies, advocacy, decision making, but they should be part of the implementation actors. So UNDP also works on that side. And in the past 2 years, we have been supporting countries in revising their NDCs. And I am very much happy to say that over half of the countries in West Africa have meaningfully included use in their national determination contribution or in their climate action plan for the next 5 years. And we hope it will even be more ambitious when it comes to the implementation side. So, okay, now we have the policies that integrate young people in their national development plans. But now we are going to the implementation. So when it comes to implementation, there is a huge gap because young people, like you mentioned before, are working hard in their communities, in their local spaces, through entrepreneurship, through different NGOs and CSOs, trying to bring climate awareness and also different green initiatives such as sustainable energies. So it could be building some solar panel that can help in irrigation system, multiple initiatives, but the finance is very much limited. So that's also where Youth for Climate comes in. So young people for many years have been asking for concrete support from different initiatives, including us, the government, and multiple players in this sector, the private sector. So what they need is they have the idea, they have the ambition, they have the dedication, and they have a clear idea what they want to do, because they are the ones who are also leading the climate advocacy as we know it. So Youth for Climate was created based on that. So our main objective is to support youth-led climate action and initiatives on the ground through financing or capacity development. So the financing part, we do it through a call for solution. So every year, we ask young people to submit their innovative ideas through multiple thematic areas. For example, this year on March 2nd, we launched our fourth call for solution in sustainable energy, food and agriculture, climate, peace and security, ocean and blue economy, sustainable fashion and textile, and also I said food and agriculture, right? So there's 6 thematic areas. So if young people are working in these areas, and if they are aged from 18 to 29, they can submit their proposal. We will assess it, and then we provide financial support up to $30,000 for each project. And that's the financial side. But also that is not enough. When we ask young people to take part in implementation, when we ask young people to take part in decision making or providing consultations, we also want to make sure that they are capacitated, they have the information that is needed. So you can't just give let's say a gold and lock it in a safe, right? You also have to show them how to open it. So we have multiple capacity development opportunities that we provide. We have a series of webinars on project design. How do you design project that is focused on climate action? How do you also make sure that your climate project is inclusive, it's gender inclusive, it's indigenous peoples inclusive, because as much like when we work, we should be there is a lot of intersectionality, and we want to make sure that youth are also aware of this.
Okay.
We also want to make sure that they know what opportunities exist. So we have that. We also, the third component we have is a network. So the awardees, the ones we select, we also give them a global platform to network with other UN agencies, with other peers, such as, for example, Jeremiah is one of our awardees. So we make the connection amongst themselves and amongst other stakeholders.
Right, right.
So that's in a nutshell. Thank you.
Yes,
Agustin.
we will get back to you. I mean, there are a lot to talk about, key points you've raised. I've just jotted some down. But let's go to one of the awardees, or I'll refer to them as young innovators within the climate change environment, especially for Jeremiah Toronka. We know that you are engaging students through hands-on recycling projects. One would say you are turning schools into climate launch pads. What's about this initiative? Where did the idea come from?
Well, thank you for that wonderful question, and thank you again for having me. Basically, over the years, while I was growing up in Sierra Leone, during that whole process of my formative years and also as a young person in Sierra Leone, I saw that basically, even though countries like ours, Sierra Leone and mostly the sub-region, are among the most vulnerable countries to climate change, we've seen worrying statistics that countries like Sierra Leone and the sub-region are going to suffer most from climate change. Over the years, we've seen like a repetitive issue of, the lack of climate education, practical sustainability skills, and for us to access opportunities that will build upon our entrepreneurship skills is mostly missing in our education system currently. So for me, the most important question that I started asking is how are we going to prepare young people not to just understand climate change, but then how can they be capacitated to solve it? So basically, that's how the Eco Pioneers project was born, to solve that gap that currently exists in our current education system. So we want to make sure that we transition schools from just a place of learning to a place where youth and young people in this course can learn, but then also build and need climate action from a very early and young age. So that's why we're targeting schools. And that's how the idea came about. Okay.
Now, tell us about the process, the recycling process, because one just hearing about recycling and upcycling, how do you really carry out this initiative?
So we've been doing it on two phases, considering that most capacity building programs primarily focus on Western areas in Freetown. So we want to see how we can prioritize, rural areas where some of these opportunities have not been accessed over the years. So one of the things that we do is we form partnership with the schools, and we build teams within the schools to also make sure that we position ourselves for long-term sustainability. So these clubs, become the first point of contact that we train, and then they can extend the training to their colleagues in the schools. But then also on the practical level, what we also do is we provide recycling bins to help students understand climate change through conversations around waste and their experiences, where they're coming from, considering that most places around Sierra Leone have different experiences and how they relate with climate change. Some areas are mostly prone to flooding. Other areas are mostly prone to mudslide. We have other areas where, fire has become a predominant issue. Heat is kind of shared all over the place, but having conversations around things that the students can relate to kind of best position them to identify the problem. So we give them, we have those conversations, and then over time we build upon their skills on problem solving, design thinking, problem identification, and then building a startup around problems that they relate to or that they connect to. So basically, those are the methods we've been using. And the last part of what we do is, after having all these conversations, after building upon their capacity, we also encourage them to formulate teams. The teams at times range from just among themselves from the same school, but then also we encourage them to form cross schools team, where if there's a shared interest or a shared problem that students from different schools can relate to, then they start thinking on how they are not only going to take action, but then how can they solve it as an entrepreneur or as an innovator and look at a problem and solve it. So we've had a range of solutions, be it from sustainable fashion. Some kids are currently working in that regard. We've also had people who are going on to form NGOs that kind of create awareness on waste management, but then also to build upon the capacity of their communities, not to only see waste as the general concept of waste, but then for the perception to shift from waste, from just waste to this community seeing waste as a resource, that can be repurposed and recycled for something. So seeing these students take on some of these ventures is something that has been very much exciting on how we've been going about doing our work.
Great. Now, we also have a young leader with us, Fatia Selassie Glover. You are a project coordinator for Zero Waste Cities at the Green Africa Youth Organization in Ghana. Tell us about your own initiative and how are you meeting these cities? What exactly are you doing?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, before I go into exactly what the solution Zero Waste is, I'll briefly introduce the organization, Green Africa Youth Organization. We are popularly known as GAYO, and GAYO is a Pan-African youth-led organization. And what we do is we co-create and implement climate solutions across Africa. Currently, the organization is headquartered here in Ghana, but we have country offices in Botswana and Uganda, and we work across a number of African countries as well. And we work across mainly 4 interconnected thematic areas. So we work across just transition, adaptation and resilience, zero waste cities, and green jobs. Now, in the introduction, you see my title, the portfolio that I belong with is the Zero Waste Cities portfolio. And this portfolio mainly reimagines what urban systems can be like through community-driven approaches. And our main focus is to reduce pollution, to protect public health, and advance circular economy models that are rooted in reuse. So we want to promote reuse, composting, recovery, but also a sense of shared responsibility. And we do this by partnering with municipal authorities and focusing on reducing municipal solid waste across the value chain, but with particular emphasis on diverting organic waste and recyclables from landfills. We advocate for the reduction of open burning and dumping, but also to institutionalize source separation of waste. We also advocate for sustainable consumption practices, inclusive circular economy systems in households, schools, markets, etc. But mainly, GAYO is guided by the vision that Africa can become climate resilient, and this is going to be powered by youth leadership and locally driven solutions. So our mission is to co-create these solutions with youth. This is a youth-led organization, so of course, we work mainly with the youth to provide solutions to the most pressing environmental issues that we have here in Ghana, in Africa, sorry.
No, before initiating this project, did you observe that the issue of waste management was a major challenge for residents in Ghana, or maybe the cities you are working in right now?
Right, so waste management definitely has been a challenge across a number of African countries, if not all. We realize that the composition of waste, particularly in most African countries, is about 50% organic waste. In some countries, as much as 60% organic. And this, when it ends up in the landfill, ends up producing gases and contributing significantly to air pollution. Waste management, we have realized in most African countries, is linear, which means that, when products are made, we take them, we use them, and the end product, which is the waste, just ends up in the landfills. Unfortunately, our landfills are not able to process the waste properly. And so when we have the mixture of waste, because we don't have source separation of waste within our countries, when this mixed waste end up in the landfill, they end up generating a lot of greenhouse gases. And poor management of the waste affects residents. We also note that a lot of African countries are gradually expanding due to urbanization. And so when you go to a number of cities, such as the city of Accra, you realize that due to the growing population, waste is becoming a problem. In fact, just a few weeks ago, there was a news item that came out that one of our major landfills here in Accra, called the Kum landfill, is nearing capacity. And what this means is that we will not have such a large-scale engineered landfill to manage the waste in the country. Okay. And so what we realize as an organization is that even if we have multiple resources in terms of land space to be able to set up multiple landfills to accommodate the waste, it is not sustainable in the long term. Okay. And that's where zero waste comes in, because zero waste is looking at keeping as much waste from the landfills as possible. So we look at material recovery to be able to, do composting, black soldier fly farming with organic waste that is collected from the communities. We do urban gardening as well. So the compost that we produce from the waste is used to produce food, to prove that, of course, our waste can be used as a resource to promote food resilience within our communities. We also divert recyclables and form partnership with the municipal authorities, mainly to support the advocacy for policy making, because we also realize that as we are working with the community and doing decentralized activities, it is important that the governments are able to absorb some of these solutions, like Lydia mentioned, in the NDCs, for example, to be able to include some of these innovative solutions to tackling the waste management issue that we have, and then in the long term, tackling the climate change issues that we see.
Great. I will get back to you. That's so amazing coming from you. But back to Lydia. We know that this project, UNDP, works in Mali, Ghana, Liberia, Benin, and Sierra Leone, among other countries, with this Youth for Climate project. What criteria were used in selecting these countries in West Africa and including these wonderful innovators that you're working with?
When we open the call for solution, it's open for over 150 countries, in all countries where UNDP has a program office. But since the first year of our call launch in 2023, most of the innovations we received were highly dominated by young people from Africa. And that was a huge testament to the real innovation and also the perseverance of use in Africa. And we didn't have like a separate criteria for countries like this or like that. It's a global call. It's for everyone, but it's just the solutions were innovative. They passed through the whole criteria. And the other thing probably that helped us reach many young people, because the solutions we also received, for example, last year, we received over 2,600 proposals from young people across the globe, and 65% of it came from Africa. We have a huge support by our colleagues in the regional office and also in country offices, because they work very closely with youth-led initiatives, and they make sure that it reaches them. So I think that collaboration also made a huge impact in making sure that this information reaches the right youth that are working on grassroots level. But other than that, I would say it's the strengths of the projects from these young people. And I think it's always incredible to see that how young people are taking leadership. They are not waiting for some kind of initiative coming from either the government or anybody else. But when they see a problem, they tend to fix it themselves. And like Fatia was mentioning here, or Jeremiah, what he's doing, you see that they just take initiative and they are changing the challenge into a new solution or a new way of entrepreneurship. So I think we should give it up for the young innovators. It's
Yeah.
on them.
Great.
Yeah.
Before I leave you, tell us about the changes so far you've seen. There must be impact, be it positive or negative. What are the changes you've seen so far when it comes to the implementation of this project?
So just to mention the projects that we work on, for example, in Africa, from the first 2 year, for example, like the first 100, with the amount, like I mentioned before, we provide up to 30,000 US dollars, right? But the impact itself, like the seed money is small, but they were able to reach in all of Africa over like 100,000 people indirectly, and they were making real impact, not just for the environment, but within their communities. And you see them scaling up immediately, like after 1-2 years, because what they need was this catalyzing support, like the initial push that can help them implement their idea into a project. And once they get that, they immediately change into a sustainable initiative. If they are NGO or CSO, or when they are businesses, they make the real connection with different stakeholders. They were being awarded in international stages. They have been scaling up beyond, I think, our expectation. So I think they also became a very good example of what youth-led innovation, if supported, can bring to not just for their own organization, but to the community that holds them, and also to the country that they are residing in. So I think, yeah, the main change would be them as an example and as a good practice for a lot of initiative for the government, for the private sector to look at. And I think they can look at the Youth for Climate awardees and see a real proof of concept.
Indeed. Let's now hear from them, especially Jeremiah. Tell us about the solutions. I know you must have been dreaming about making this impact. So far, what are the solutions your project is bringing to the climatic challenges in Sierra Leone, especially with students?
Yeah, so to start with the end of the question, basically, why we're currently focusing on students is because currently in the world, students are the most affected by, the future of the climate. And at the same time, they are also the generation that is most capable of reshaping, the potential scenarios that we're going to have, either going above the stipulated, boundaries or reversing it at the same time. And for us, we're looking at that potential. So considering that these young people or these students are growing up in a world that is changing at an unprecedented pace, and many of them today have a lot of climate anxiety that they're dealing with, and there's uncertainty all over the place. So looking at this particular demographic, and also knowing that this generation is a very curious one. They are very much creative, they are entrepreneurial, and they are much more open to new ideas. And one of the best places for us to meet this sort of people are like schools. Schools have always been here with us. So we want to see how we can leverage on that already established infrastructure of schools to see how we can tap into that. So far, during our phase one, we were able to work with 10 schools, primarily schools in the rural part of Freetown. We had a handful of schools in the urban centers. We were able to reach 6,000 students, and we had different sets of solutions that were proposed. So we had, on average, 2 solutions per school. During our second phase that we started earlier this year, we already have 10 solutions that have been proposed by the students. And these solutions ranges from things on, using recyclable materials for like fashion. We've had people bringing up solutions on starting nonprofits to raise awareness in their communities. We've had people proposing, using, say, certain type of waste for furniture. So we have like a wide range of ideas and proposals that we're receiving. And on our own side also, when we receive these great ideas from the students, we connect them with people that are already within Sierra Leone that are either working on something similar as their proposed ideas, for them to mentor them and for them to guide them. So the way we do our mentorship program is not very structured and rigid. The students and the mentor kind of build upon that relationship, and we are just there to connect them and kind of follow up and see if they are actually benefiting, from those engagements and stuff like that. And we also have different workshops where we build upon, different soft skills, primarily entrepreneurial skills and creativity skills that the current, curriculum that they are using in Sierra Leone does not expose them to. So we want to make sure that we don't only expose them to what is climate change, but then also take it a step further to build upon their capacity and work in that journey with them. From them knowing what is climate change to them having the required skills to identify a problem and bring the solution, to also then going on to establish the solutions as part of like a community action to reverse the current climate crisis. So those are some of the impact we've been able to create, and primarily why we focus on working with this young generation and sort of people.
Well, interesting. We'll talk more about maybe capacity building. We'll look at, because it comes with a lot of support. You are working out because you have been capacitated, and then you will want to capacitate another person or a group of young people like you. Then it comes with resources. We shall be looking at that. But let's also know what's happening when it comes to the impact that the Zero Waste project is making in Ghana, especially from Fatia. Tell us about the impact so far. What can you point to as some of the benefits that you've seen as part of the Zero Waste initiative?
Thank you very much. So yes, the Zero Waste Cities project has recorded tremendous impact. Before I even go to talk about specifics in terms of how we are impacting the country, I will have to just acknowledge that in 2024, Gaio was awarded Earthshot Prize for the category of clean air. And this was a recognition of the contribution that the Green Africa Youth Organization is making towards cleaning our air. And this you would see in the diversion of waste that we record per year. As at 2025, our annual diversion of recyclable waste from landfills was about 300 tons. So you can see the collection from that end. We had recorded over 60 tons of organic waste diversion, which was also made into compost. We are working with thousands of communities. We have sensitization within the communities to change the behavior of community members, to instill the zero waste behavior within the community to support the initiatives in which we work with. We like to promote community ownership of the projects that we have. And so that is why we mainly look at behavioral change campaigns, but we also build capacity. And one of the major things we're doing this year is, bridging the gap for informal waste workers. If you come to a number of African countries, you realize there is the presence of unions of waste workers, or what we call waste pickers, who are able to advocate for better working conditions and to be able to negotiate with municipal assemblies. But down here in Ghana, waste workers are usually fragmented, and we have several categories of waste workers here in Ghana. So one thing that we have been working on is to support the unionization of informal sector waste workers here in Ghana, and to facilitate their integration into the municipal assembly or the municipal system that we have here. So we try as much as possible to build the capacity of informal sector waste workers, to provide alternative livelihood training, even for them to be able to have alternative livelihoods to the waste work that they do. We support, I think just last week during Ghana's 69th Independence Day celebration, we held a national clean air campaign that saw over 60,000 reach within the country, just advocating for cleaner air here in Ghana. because we work across all of these thematic areas, we try as much as possible to bring everybody along. But mainly, we try to focus on the communities that we work with to tailor the climate solutions that we have to the communities and work with the municipal assemblies for that partnership. So we have formal partnerships with most of the municipal assemblies, what we call MMDAs here in Ghana. And we try as much as possible to, as I said, advocate for, institutionalization of source separation of waste, for example, and then to, make open dumping and open burning illegal, because these are mainly the things that we see causing issues. If you come to Accra right now, I think this year a lot of us had these comments where people kept asking, we know in January we experienced Hamatan, and people were asking, where is the Hamatan? But these are some of the small things that we see. Even if you are not well versed within the climate space, you will see the impact of our human behavior on the climate, because it is affecting daily life. It is affecting farmers, it's affecting yield of the farmers as well. So the urban gardening initiative as well is there to support the bridging of that gap, to reduce the reliance on chemical fertilizers. And so we are able to work with farmers within communities. We've donated over 200 bags of compost last year. This year is going to be even more massive as we expand across the country and then across the African region as well.
Great. Well, listeners and viewers, you are right now in tune to West Africa Democracy Radio, and this is Take the Lead. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at WADR English and worldwide at WADR.org. Our guests are amazing climate change makers. We have Lydia Beyenning, and she is a youthful climate analyst, a focal person for Africa at the UNDP Rome Center. We also have Jeremiah Toranka. He's the founder of the Ecopreneur student-led recycling initiative in Sierra Leone, as well as Fatia Selassie Chawe Glover, project coordinator of Zero Waste Cities at Green Africa Youth Organization there in Ghana. But now let's come back to Lydia. There is always challenges, even if they are not at the peak or they are not many, one would say maybe just turning challenge, but they have the proclivity of undermining progress. So what would you say or consider as challenges that you face or UNDP faces in terms of coordinating the activities of these young innovators?
That's a good question, Agustin. So, of course, there things might not go as you plan every time, especially when you're working in many countries, such as like in Africa and other developing countries, we might face some operational challenge. So, for example, we might face some problem of delivering funds to their bank account. This might take days. Sometimes it might be a bit challenging for our young innovators because they're waiting for it. And there is a lot of bureaucracy when it comes to acquiring these funds from their banks. There's that also could be a bit of a hindering factor, or sometimes we also face some socio-economic and political challenges. For example, a war might break out after we initiated the project, and that could affect the timeline of the project delivery. The other thing would be, I would say, not like a problem, but something to be improved. I would say it's creating a space for these young innovators to share their knowledge with the wider community and also amongst themselves, because I think they could be a very good inspiration for a lot of young people, and also a good information for other young people so they don't create the wheel again. So people need to know, for example, what's happening in Sierra Leone, in Freetown, for example, or somewhere else, let's say in Liberia and Monrovia. If there is a certain project that is already being implemented, there should be a way that young people like others could access information, and they don't have to redo stuff, and they can collaborate better. So I think that kind of knowledge bridging or information bridging, it's lacking. It's also something we would like to work on going forward. And programs such as yours also could really help in providing this information for young people who might not have heard. For example, this call for solution, it's open right now, right? There is a huge opportunity, and because we're not on the local radios, some youth might not have access to this information. So I think bridging the gap of accessing information is something we also need to work on. Also, I would say scaling could be a bit of a challenge sometimes. Yes, there are international like grants, finances, but when it comes to especially like in our continent, you see that there is a lack of support for youth-led innovations. So local scaling could become challenging for our young innovators. So the private sector in Africa should really focus on really supporting entrepreneurship or these innovators in their home countries. Because they know the context. It's also really encouraging the economy of the country, the community. So I think having a bit of a catalytic financing within the country, also government supporting this kind of youth-led initiatives, that's something I think we could really work on.
Great.
Yeah.
Talking about the need for private sector to support entrepreneurship, that's a good one. But just before I also hear, or we hear challenges coming from our young innovators, can you tell us more about the feedbacks that you receive? Aside from these young innovators explaining or reporting back to you, what are you hearing from others on the other side? What are you getting with regards to the way your young innovators are impacting lives and communities in their respective countries? Are you getting me, Lydia?
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second, Agustin. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm discussing the feedback. What feedback are you getting from others regarding the work of your young innovators?
Oof, it's very incredible. Like I think since we started in 2023, even the call for solution for the way it's accepted, the partners we gained, because they became the face of what young people can do when they are trusted and when they are provided with the support needed. So before I was telling you, like in the past, like the first two solutions, they were in 21 African countries, and they made impact in over 100,000 people within their communities. And then government was noticing, other agencies were noticing. Jeremiah can testify, even our young innovators were invited to multiple global platforms. They had an opportunity to be offered for a skilling support, because I think once a young innovator is trusted by entities such as UNDP, like a name, that really shifts the way that they are approached. So I think we have seen a very good improvement when it comes to youth-led innovations having a little bit of trust. We want more, but yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah, we have seen a very positive change.
To you, Jeremiah, what are the challenges you're facing so far?
Basically, to start with, the type of program that we're currently running is going head to head with intergenerational ways of thinking, where in the place where we operate, education is you go to school, you learn whatever content that have been there, and then after you finish school, that's when you start thinking of what to do. But for us, we want to break that paradigm. So, you go against institutional thinking, which has been like a major challenge for us. And that kind of slows down, because we take a lot of time to convince stakeholders that, these young people are longing for things like this. And I believe those are time that we could have, or we could use to, spend with the students. And also, the resource side, we want to expand. There have been a lot of demand from different schools, not only in Freetown, but then in most of the places that solutions like this, will hardly reach in the next few years. Okay. But then access to funding and resources is a major challenge. Yes, we got the funding from UNDP, but then, since, there is a growing need for this type of solutions, getting access to more funding for us to reach more people has been very much challenging. Yeah. UNDP was kind enough not to make it extremely rigid, because like a lot of the funding that are currently available. They'll ask for a lot of documentations. They'll ask for 10 years of experience. And we are young people. How old are we for we to have 10, 15 years of experience for us to access certain type of funding? So the challenge of, getting into those spaces due to like the current structures of number of experience, numbers of years in operation, some opportunities that are also available. They say, oh, you must have secured so and so thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for you to access this type of funding. So those are kind of institutional barriers that are currently kind of, mitigating or kind of limiting us to scale up. So if those things can be revised, then you imagine, I believe we'll be able to reach more people that currently need the solution.
Great. And to you, Fatia, do you have some challenges you want to talk about?
Yes. I believe a lot of the challenges that have just come forward also applies even to us at the Green Africa Youth Organization. But I mainly want to touch on the issue of policy implementation gaps in African countries. So one saying you hear within the space is that we have good environmental policies, but we do have good environmental policies on paper. The gap lies in the enforcement and the institutional capacity of the assembly or the national institution to implement the policy that has been formulated. Of course, at Green Africa Youth Organization, we've been working with the assemblies to do capacity building for municipal environmental health officers, to try and bring them up to date on some of the innovation that is happening within the space and to support their implementation. Last year, we donated about 150 air quality sensors to municipal assemblies to monitor air quality within their communities when they go out. But we did have to then, train them on how to use some of these tools to bring them up to date. This gap is also seen in terms of capacity also among the youth, which is why we have a number of training programs as well to build youth capacity in green businesses, even on climate knowledge. Okay. We have a program that we have running to be able to equip youth to represent on global platforms such as the COPs, the Conference of Parties that are held yearly, so they can be able to advocate for environmental issues. But then again, we have the issue of public awareness and behavioral change. I like to say that people actually know the solutions to climate change when you go to the community, and the issue becomes systematic at some point. But because we have a certain behavior that is already, very stringent that we have been building over years, it takes quite a lot of time to change behavior, even when solutions are presented to communities. So when we go out and say we want to do source separation, it's not just saying, okay, we are providing you the resources to do the source separation. The challenge becomes, are the people going to be able to do the source separation? And therefore, there is this challenge of, doing sensitizations, doing awareness creation, trying to guide people to change their behaviors to be able to adapt to the solutions that are being presented to them.
Great. Now, as we wrap up this great edition here on Take the Lead, let's hear from you, Lydia. What are the projections of UNDP when it comes to the Youth for Climate project?
So I want to use this opportunity to say our call for solution right now, it's open. It's a call for proposals where we ask young people to submit their innovative ideas in the 6 thematic areas I mentioned before. Maybe I can quickly repeat it. So if you're working on sustainable energy, food and agriculture, climate, peace and security, ocean and blue economy, and architecture for adaptation, and sustainable fashion and textile. And if you're aged 18 to 29, you can be an individual or a private sector or an NGO or CSO. You are welcome to apply. It will close on April 30. We have also different resources that can help you navigate through the call for solution and its processes. We have webinars recorded with the guiding documents there. So I think you can go to your Play Store or Apple Store and search Use for Climate, number 4 for climate, and download the app. And then you can have access to the call for solution and other learning materials there. And we're excited for this year's new innovators to be on board.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Lydia. We really appreciate you.
No, thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful.
All right. Now, just before I also get the parting words of our two innovators, on our live Facebook, Lydia Kadi Toko says climate change is no longer something we only hear about in reports. It is something people are living through every day, from stronger storms and rising temperatures to floods and droughts. Communities across the world are feeling the impact. It reminds us that protecting our planet is not just a global responsibility, but a shared duty to safeguard the future from the next generation. And Lydia is actually from Sierra Leone. Okay, let's hear from you, Jeremiah. What are your plans for expanding your Eco Panels project quickly? At least a minute, 30 seconds.
So yes, we really want to expand our model because we've been doing this for a few years now. We've learned a lot of lessons, and we've seen the success and potential that it has. We want to expand this solution to more schools and communities across Sierra Leone, but then also with the sub-region at the back of our mind, making sure that we sharpen our training programs, our mentorship program, and also to make sure that we identify the right way. We continue sharpening the right ways for us to support these young people that are already working on solutions. Basically, our long-term plan is to make sure that schools kind of become like a launch pad where young people will go to any school in Sierra Leone where we'll be running our program. And us making sure that they can access the required skills that they have to solve some of the most challenging problems that is faced with their community. So those are our plans, and those are the things we're working towards. We're very much open in case there's anybody who is working on something similar like this, or somebody who wants to work with us on a partnership or to collaborate with us across the sub-region to see how we can exchange ideas, exchange expertise, and see how we can scale up, capacity building and entrepreneurship education in our schools.
Thank you, Jeremiah Toronka. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And let's hear from you, Fatia, quickly. What are your plans?
Right. Yes. So we have, realized that we have reached tens and thousands of young people within the past couple of years. We have created green jobs and supporting community waste management initiatives across multiple African countries. But looking ahead for us, Guy is actually 10 years. And looking ahead within the next decade, we are looking to scale our climate solutions across more African cities and communities. We want to strengthen youth leadership in climate policy and climate governance. We're expanding our renewable energy access and green entrepreneurship, creating more green jobs. We are strengthening the informal sector within the countries in which we operate in. But more importantly, we are looking to build stronger regional and international partnerships to be able to move towards the goal of African youth being at the forefront of designing and implementing solutions for the continent's environmental future. Thank you very much.
All right. We wish you all the best as well, Fatia, as you go about with your Zero Waste initiative in Ghana. Well,
thank you so much.
Well, listeners and viewers, this is where we conclude this episode of Take the Lead on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting all the way from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for always being with us. Please join us next Friday for another live episode of this program. Remember to take the lead in shaping the discourse for the betterment of young people in Africa. My name is Augustine Bilkali, and I wish you all the best.
We thank you for listening to this program in Nigeria on Darling FM 107.3 Owerri, Southeast. We thank our listeners in Liberia on Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Nova County, Kwakete Radio 100.9 FM, Baga, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riversers, in Sierra Leone.